Hello, my name is Sami Yankelevich. I'm here today at the Apex Industrial Crescent chapter in Greenville, South Carolina, by invitation to speak in front of the group today on the topic of miscommunication and how it impacts the global supply chains. Inside this presentation, I'm going to be talking about cultural situations and the factor of distance when you have these multicultural global teams sitting separated by many time zones. So in a few minutes, we're going to go ahead and make this presentation, and I hope the group enjoys it. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure. I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to talk for about 35 minutes so that we have a chance to get some questions. I see a very diverse audience here today. And so I want to give you a chance to ask, and maybe I can share some experiences from my many years in the supply chain, especially the global supply chains. So I like this slide. I always share this slide with the people that I work with. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. And I like to focus on that, the illusion. This is a George Bernard Shaw quote. And this illusion is what we live in. Incredibly enough, with all the technology, and we heard before about blockchain, I mean, this is really moving up there. And it's interesting, we did blockchain earlier, and now we're going to do this. Very low technology, we still cannot communicate with each other. We still have that problem, and it's incredible. And so I've dedicated my efforts to helping companies be more successful in that, because supply chains today, even though we have a lot of ERP systems and a lot of devices talking to each other, we still depend on the human factor quite a bit. So I'm going to share with you, I come from the automotive field, but I like this story about Airbus. Anybody flown this aircraft? Airbus, the 380? It's got 2 floors. They serve very bad food at the top, and they serve even worse food at the bottom. But it's a very smooth aircraft. The problem is that when they tried to ramp up their first flight in 2006, their prototype aircraft did not take off. And it took them another 20 months of rework and redesign, and it cost $6.1 billion. I don't know about you guys, that's a lot of money for me. But for you all, maybe it's just pennies, right? So here's the story, what happened. Here's the supply chain on this side here that was responsible for putting together all of the different components of this very complex aircraft. We had people in Spain, we had people in France, we had people in Germany, in England, and as well, some of the components were being built in Italy. Right there, you can understand that there were some issues, because you got people from all over the place trying to communicate and coordinate and synchronize and align. It's very difficult to do that without adequate communication. On top of that, we have on the left here, you see the fuselage is very complicated, got several stages. But the interesting part is the complexity of the wiring that goes inside these aircraft. Okay, they wind around nooks and crannies. They are one on top of the other. So there's a lot of complexity even just putting these together. When they finished building all of those components in the different locations in the world, they had to truck these down and put them on barges, and some of the items were flown down to Toulouse, which is in the south of France, to assemble that first prototype aircraft for testing. But unfortunately, it did not happen. The plane did not take off. Okay? They could not get the aircraft assembled, because when they started putting together all of these fuselage parts, if you remember the picture about the wiring harnesses, this is what happened. The wires were too short. They could not make the connections between the different sections of this airplane. Now, this is incredible, because I'm talking about first-class, first-rate engineering. You know, we're talking about Germans, French, British, Spanish, and this happened. How could it be? Well, a lot of it had to do with miscommunication. Before I get into to that miscommunication between Germans and French in this specific case, of course, you see that they're swearing at each other. This was, let's say, the root cause that could be seen. This was what was observed. And what was observed was that the wiring was being designed by the Germans using CATIA 4, and the French had already upgraded to CATIA 5. Everybody understand what the CATIA platforms are? These are high technology design platforms, like CAD/CAM platforms, okay? High-tech design platforms. Now you would think, oh, CATIA 4, CATIA 5, it's kind of like Windows 7 or Windows 8 and Windows 10. No, CATIA 5 was a complete rewrite because they had already experienced problems with wiring harnesses when they had CATIA 4 only, and that's why they upgraded to CATIA 5. And this was the major problem. If a lot of you might not be engineers, but the CATIA 4 platform did not take into account what we call bend radii. You're trying to get this length, and you have a radius, okay? And somehow it's got to be compensated. So it wasn't compensated, and that's why we had those short cables that they could not connect the fuselage parts with. So in this, miscommunication was not only between the people that were responsible for these projects, you know, high-level engineers, also between systems. And we have that in the supply chains when ERP systems don't talk to each other. SAP doesn't talk to everybody, right? As we know. And all of these misunderstandings contributed to big bucks. My work is not about miscommunication when we're having fun on vacation or we have miscommunication with our buddies. It's about business and what the real things that happen in supply chains that cost the companies a lot of money and we don't pay a whole lot of attention to. So the key ideas from that story is that I have a question. You know, with what components, you know, do we need just one component here for an airplane to fly? I think we need all of these components, right? So we need all of the systems in coordination for it to fly. Now, how about connections? We need the connections. They're required between all of these systems, as well in alignment, synchronization, and coordination for the plane to fly. And hopefully we don't have to think about all these things when we're up, you know, 35,000 feet up there. But then there's this factor here, okay? Without this factor, that is called the lift factor, okay, is something that we don't see, but I can assure you, if there was no lift factor, that plane's not going to fly. And it's invisible. We don't see it. And I think that the same thing happens with communication. We don't see it. So we don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. But I know for a fact that without it, there's no synchronization, no coordination, no alignment. And the supply chain is just going to fail. And when you have miscommunication, you're going to have those disconnects that you saw between the German team and the French team. So here we are at APIX, all right? And here's our responsibilities. We have products to build and to deliver. We can't do this on our own because we are interdependent, whether we like it or not. We would like to believe we're independent. And we work in our own little corners, but we're really interdependent, and we have to interact globally. Now, for this group here, when I say globally, it doesn't necessarily mean in other parts of the world, although I'm pretty sure that you are somehow connected and rely on things that are happening somewhere else, for sure. But even if it's just outside of your four walls, okay? As being a lean trained person, I was trained to do stuff inside the four walls, but not outside. So any gains that you might have inside the four walls, you can lose them in a few minutes in a supply chain. And this is where we have to focus, thinking lean in these extended value streams that we have. So the title of the presentation today is about somehow working on the issues so that we can avoid them and prevent them and avoid these costs that we might be in front of when we have miscommunication issues. So in the short time that we have today, I'm going to bring up three items. Number one, awareness. Number two, dialogue. And number three, we have to reach a standard. Without a standard, there's nothing. And without a standard, there's no continuous improvement. So we're going to work on these things. I'm going to give you some examples, a few short stories. And I'm also going to ask for your help to run a few exercises. So here we go back to the single biggest problem and this thing about the illusion that is taking place. What does this illusion really mean? So in my experience, I always heard from my people, in my operations, oh, I told him, or I told her, or yeah, I sent them the email, or yeah, we discussed it on the phone. So the question is, did communication happen?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe. I think only a message was sent. Okay? Possibly the other person that received I told him that him might not have understood what she was trying to say. Same thing happens with the email, and same thing happens when you speak with somebody on the phone. As we all know, sometimes people say, yes, I understood, and then, the S happens, right? So I think many of you know this mechanical model. I use this mechanical model of communication to explain a little bit different how this works. You have a sender and you have a receiver, and these bubbles here represent messages that are being exchanged. So the sender sends a message, but inside the message, what do we have? We're looking for an expectation, right? We're sending a request, we're sending an instruction to somebody. So we have something which is meaning A. When the receiver receives this meaning, they interpret. So what the meaning B is, it's an interpretation, not necessarily the same thing. And what we should be interested in is this intersection here, where those things meet, where those bubbles meet. And what are we looking for? We're looking for a standard. We're looking for a match. Both meanings have to match in order for things to get done according to the expectation of A. And so, I don't know if it looks red all the way back in the room, but red, in my experience, I remember in automotive, red was bad. It's a reject. It's a nonconformance. We have a nonconformance here when we don't have the meanings match. Somebody understood something completely different. So we have a nonconformance. And just like you have quality issues, if you have a nonconformance and when the meanings don't match, you are going to end up with an issue of execution. Somebody's going to get something done that, in a different way than is expected. So we might say that this is what we're talking about when there's illusion, because people will go out there and will execute based on the illusion that they thought they understood. That's part of this concept of having the illusion. And so let me ask you what happens when we don't understand. What do? We make an assumption. And what are the assumptions typically? I understood, or they understood. Okay? And that's because each of us understands things differently. Even with words, they're going to mean a lot of things, especially if we're working global supply chains, and we'll get to that in a little bit. People understand things differently. Okay? So, just a quick question though. What's worse than making an assumption? Huh? Acting on an assumption. You got it. Because that's when it costs money. So, communication is first, and then the action. And when you act based on an assumption, there's going to be money that is going to be left on the table. And somebody's going to get upset. So just try this. This is, just a very crazy idea. Be curious. Be careful, especially if you're dealing on a global basis. Be careful. Don't expect that if they say, yes, I understood, it's yes, I understood. You know it, Chuck, from dealing with French and whoever else, So be curious and ask. Simple, but we don't do it often. We're in a rush. We're multitasking. We're too busy to ask, and we'll get to that too. So you all have papers. You all have some papers that I left on the table there. If you don't mind, on the flip side, on the non-written side, there's the written side is where you have all of these things. Please do it on the back side, and I'm going to ask you to you're going to have 20 seconds to do this. It's very simple. Please draw a pig. All right, 3 seconds. And counting, very important. Okay, please show me your pigs. Let me see your pigs, please. Everybody got the same pig, right? They all look the same. Now, it's very simple. I just said draw a pig. What's so difficult, guys? Okay, so in a nutshell, so this is, by the way, I do this exercise sometimes in a crowd like this because one of the things we work on in the workshops is empathy. And to do empathy, you have to walk in somebody else's shoes and I've made people very uncomfortable. So today it's not going to happen. We're going to just draw a pig. Now, before the end of my presentation, I'm going to give you instructions so that everybody can actually draw the exact same pig, and we can accomplish a standard, because we have to be able to accomplish a standard, right? So let's continue. This is what we want. It's green, okay? And the word here, the key word I like, is common. We seldom associate the word communication with the word common. The common understanding where meanings match. And it's the reason because the word origin of communication comes from the same word as common. And this is what we're looking for. And that's the standard. When this turns green, that means there is 100% equal meaning A and B, unambiguous. The word ambiguous means two meanings, or more than one meaning. Ambiguous. You don't want ambiguity. You want clarity and everybody on the same page. And that's the standard we're looking for. So another tidbit here. We all make assumptions. Anybody here not human? Okay, good. I've had some aliens. Speak the assumptions out loud. That's what dialogue is about. Go slow so that you can get things done fast. Let me explain this, because this is from, anybody read Daniel Kahneman's work? So you understand this now. Whatever company you're in, and it's a business value, time is money. So we think that if we rush through things and we do everything quickly, it's gonna, that's the way it should be. But for some things, especially in this day and age, when we're dealing with people that don't speak our language, that are distant, that are sitting somewhere on the other side of the globe, we have to slow down to get things done right the first time. That's what I mean by fast. Because fast doesn't mean, okay, you got it. But what happens if 2 weeks later, shipment's late, quality problem, more cost? That's not what we don't want fast. We want right the first time. That's part of the quality lean thinking behind this. Now, I want to clarify, we don't only communicate verbally. We communicate through work instructions, drawings, specifications, emails, ERP systems. We saw IT systems communicating, the CATIA systems were communicating, and that has a lot of issues. Now, emails are a topic in itself. If you invite me, a couple of years from now, we'll talk about just emails. Just in that, we get in trouble with emails. But this is a short story of a company that had a location in Guadalajara, Mexico, one in Germany, I don't recall where, and one in Detroit. The OEM was in Detroit. I believe it was General Motors. The tier one were on a conference call, virtual phone call, and they were discussing the need for some prototype parts that had to be shipped to Detroit. So you had the German folks, you had the guys in Detroit, and people in Guadalajara. The parts were very fragile. So not only was there a specification required for the parts, but also for the packaging. And for traceability, and we heard blockchain traceability and transparency, they needed special labeling on the boxes. So after 40 minutes of having the conversation, they asked, everybody on the same page? Did you understand what is required? And what did they hear?
Yes.
Yes. But of course, we're talking about miscommunication, so you can imagine something kind of went wrong, right? So the meanings did not match. Everybody had assumptions. The Germans and the Americans assumed that their counterparts and colleagues in Mexico understood 100%. And the Mexicans assumed that they understood. And this is what arrived. I think it looks more like a Chinese takeout box. The parts were shattered inside. They were fragmented. This was a $20 million contract. The OEM cut the contract. Company lost about $20 million worth of contract for one small miscommunication error. So in these extended supply chains, a small misunderstanding can cause big bucks. And this is why, I like to talk about heightened awareness with these, soft issues that we talk about soft issues all day. They take us hard in the butt and at the bottom line, red ink. So they started thinking, okay, well, what happened? Of course, they had to do the root cause analysis, and they started out with this. Well, there was a miscommunication. There was the illusion that we all understood what was going on. And so they started figuring out, okay, what are the obstacles and what were the causes that created this? Because they wanted to make sure it didn't happen again. They had 3 or 4 other contracts. They didn't want to lose those too, and the brand. So they use this. Who is familiar with fishbone diagrams, cause and effect diagrams? Good. Ishikawa is widely used in quality circles. I don't know if it's widely used in supply chain enough with these, when issues come up. It's a very simple device. Everybody in your department should know it and should use it. You have the problem or deviation up here in the fish head, and then all of these branches are the categories that we're going to talk about today, and some of the issues that come up specifically with language, culture, and distance that you can be aware of. And I can tell you this is very simplified. I'm working on one for the Airbus 380. I'm writing a story about it, and it goes on for pages. There's just branches showing up everywhere. There's all kinds of stuff popping up. But we're going to go through this in a very simple or a simpler way. So we start with language. And of course, there's the issue of foreign language. How many people are not Americans? And I raise my hand. I'm Colombian, by the way. That's where my southern accent comes from, my drawl. So we have Argentinian, right? You work with the French. I know that you've worked with BMW and with the Germans, and I do a lot of work with foreign companies. And of course, the language barrier is an issue, and there's fixes for that. But because there are so many other English speakers in this house, I'm going to put the onus and the responsibility on you, because that's a problem. We have chosen, and so did Airbus. Airbus said English is the language of business. Now go figure, a Frenchman speaking to a German in English. They get a lot done, right? Oh, even with their hands and their body expressions, they're going to have issues. So let's talk about English a little bit, okay? What does this mean? Huh? To work late. Now, I can tell you, do you know what it means? Okay, so I had somebody ask me, yeah, we use this all the time. You got to get that delivery, and I don't care if you burn the midnight oil, okay? And I'm with somebody in Germany, and they're texting me, what is the specification of the oil that I must burn? Okay? How about this? What's on the fly? What does on the fly mean? Quick decisions. Okay, but you think that somebody across many time zones, sitting in the dark side of the globe, and they're thinking, what the hell is with the fly? Okay, is this on the fly? Is beers or what's going on here? And this one's really funny. Okay, because this is what they think, or this. So where I'm going with this is we have, as English speakers, a responsibility to be clear, to explain ourselves, and to make sure that somebody is understanding. Okay, if you have a funny accent like mine, or if you speak fast, and you know that these lines today that you talk through are not clear, so make sure that we understand that not everybody speaks English at our level, especially not technical English, for the work that we do. So it's more of an awareness thing that I'm working on. Okay. We need the PST of the FR35-4 by tomorrow. Please check in the BR25 for the ND and provide the STP-9A. What are you going to deliver? Now, in your companies, do you have acronyms? Everybody has acronyms, but if we're not part of your family, then you're just going to destroy somebody else. They're not going to know what the heck. And some cultures will not ask, because they're going to save face, right? So that happens. Okay, culture. And, this is a very extensive topic. It's very fuzzy and abstract. But one of the important things is that it's invisible. Okay, we don't see it. And this is what we encounter when we do our trainings. Typically, you have barriers. Up there it says, my way is the best way. My way is the right way. My way is the only way. What does this mean? People are not listening. They know everything already. Without listening, I believe communication is impossible. It's not only speaking or sending the message, it's also the listening part. And this is a barrier. When you have multicultural teams that don't know each other, that have not been face-to-face, that have zero relationship, you're going to feel this very quickly, and these little problems are going to creep up on your cost sheets. Now, we do a lot of multicultural training, and there's a lot of multicultural training out there. I strongly recommend, again, the responsibility on you to understand your own culture before you understand somebody else's culture. Because they see us also the way we act, the way we do things. And it's very important for us to realize that so that we can understand what culture is. What is, what lies behind it, and all this thing about values and behaviors and all this other stuff. And obviously, can't go into that as a subject that, for workshops and stuff like that. But this is very important as well. If you haven't already, there are some dimensions out there. There's many different studies on culture trying to put a framework around it so that you can try to understand why people behave the way they do. And there's many different frameworks, different experts that are doing this. I've just listed a few of the issues here: high context, low context, power distance index, individualist, collectivist, polychronic, and monochronic. And I'm going to explain a situation where you have Hans from Bavaria showing up at a Mexico facility. They're doing an audit on production. And Hans is asking Carlos. Carlos has been working in this company for about 5 or 6 years doing the same job. And Hans is asking Carlos, why are you using this tool? Okay, very low context. Of course, Carlos is from a Mexican culture, and one of the stereotype traits of a Mexican culture is that they are high context. The difference is what is the meaning in the words. Low context means everything is in the words, or most of the meaning is in the words. High context is in all of what surrounds it. That's why sometimes you hear a long conversation to explain something that you would say, well, you just say this, and I would understand it. So the misunderstanding here that happens is he's putting already all kinds of context into it. Oh, I've been working here for 5 years. I've always been using this tool. What in the world is Hans wants from me? Takes it personally. Well, at the end of the day, it's low context. Hans just wanted to understand the situation so that everything comes out perfect. That's why he was asking the tool. And so all of these things impact our supply chains. The other one is a monochronic. This is a situation. Mono comes from one thing at a time. We like to, in projects, think that we're doing one thing at a time. Of course, with multitasking today, I think that really is just an illusion also that we are monochronic. But until this person is served, they don't move to the next guy, right? So I think this was a picture from a Lufthansa counter. Now, this is polychronic. This is in the Philippines. Poly comes from many. Okay, the agent here is one agent, and she has to do a bunch of things for a lot of people at the same time. And by the way, she's flying, everybody else is her cousin that came to say goodbye. And guess what? Because we would say, what's better? Well, monochronic is better, or polychronic is better. There is no good or bad. There is no better or worse. It depends on the context and the situation. And in this situation, both planes took off on time. They made it happen in both situations. So there is no better or worse. And this one I really like because we don't realize how much this thing with distance is killing us. Okay? And I've listed just a few items here, but distance is really, the way I understand things, is what is creating the biggest problem of everything. Okay? Let's talk about availability. So these time zones, I don't know, who here is working across time zones? Okay? So this is true, right? When we're just, over here waking up, they're on the dark side of the planet going to sleep. There's a lot of stress and strain that happens here, but the problem of availability is to get something done on time, you need everybody to be in coordination, synchronized, and you can't do this when you have these time zones in between. It's very difficult. I'm establishing a new partnership with somebody in Japan. It's a 14-hour difference. It's very, very difficult to talk and to coordinate. Well, let me do this little exercise since we're not going to do the walk in somebody else's shoes today. Close your eyes for a second. Toto, go get their wallet. Okay, keep your eyes closed, and I'm going to say the word here and there. Did you feel movement? Some of you may have. Okay, keep your eyes closed, and I'm going to say us and them. Do you feel differences? When I say those guys, okay, you can open up your eyes, check your wallet, please, to make sure that it's still there. You know, Colombians. Yeah. We're famous, right? He knows. Did you feel movement? Okay, so we don't realize how we relate to somebody when we don't know them. It's those guys. Oh, those guys over there, they messed up. They don't know what they're doing. I wonder what they were thinking when I said deliver it, blah, 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 and this and that. Those guys, us and them. And in our workshops, this is the first thing that shows up when people don't know each other, and we're starting to bring them and build a team and to build a relationship. And it says, oh, I didn't know you like soccer and that you have a family. And there's humans sitting on the other side of on the dark side of the planet too. We deal with humans. They have the same needs that we do. And we don't think that way because we got to do things quickly and fast. So this is the us versus them, you guys, and so on and so forth. If you remember the situation with the prototypes, if they were face-to-face, what's the advantage of face-to-face? Body language. There's a relationship. You can pretty much understand that you're asking for this and they're going to do this. And you can have a dialogue. Unfortunately, the supply chain usually is more like this. Time zones in between, thousands of miles. We're talking on these devices that are crystal clear when they work. Okay? There's all kinds of chatter and all kinds of static. You can't hear the other person clearly. You can't see their face, so there's no body language, right? And we're sending an email to somebody else, reading emails, talking to our mom, telling her, oh, we're going to be late for lunch. All of these distractions from the focus of communication, of getting that meaning to match so that the other person can do their job effectively, to make them successful. Okay? And so this is this multitasking world that we live in. All of these things take away from getting things done right in the supply chains. So this is I guess a simplified version of a lot more complex fishbone that we can build on the issues that affect our supply chains. So now we're all going to get on the same page, and please take out your pens, and I'm going to make you all very successful. I'm going to read the instructions on how are we doing with time? Okay, good. So you already had your pig, so now just follow the instructions that I'm going to give you. If you don't understand my English, tough. It is what it is. Just, in fact, I should stand back in the room over there so so we have distance. You can't even see me. All right. So pick up your pen, and we have to do this in about 30 seconds because time is money, right? So I want you to draw the letter M, as in Mary. See, I'm being very clear. On the top left intersection. Yeah, he knows what left is. Good. Okay. Now, the bottom of the center part of the M has to touch the intersection. Now, we're going to draw the letter W at the bottom left intersection. And the center part of that W has to touch the intersection. Good. Now draw the letter W at the bottom right intersection. And same thing, the W, the center part of the W has to touch the intersection. Good. Draw an arc from the letter M to the top right intersection. It's got to do with the bend radii. Now draw another arc from the top right intersection to the bottom right of the W. And draw an arc between the two bottom W's. that an elephant? I said pig. Okay, we're almost done. Draw the letter O in the center of the left box. The left, that's the instruction. I can't interpret. This is what it says. I'm just, good question. Draw an arc from the letter M, as in Mary, to the tangent of the circle. What the hell is a tangent? You want to hear in French? Okay. Draw an arc for the eye of the pig, halfway between M and the circle that you just drew before.
Can you repeat that?
I'll make the exception. Okay. Draw an arc for the eye halfway between M and the circle. Let's draw an arc for the mouth. And that mouth lies halfway between the W and the circle. Because it's got to be a happy pig, right? 3 more instructions. We're done. Everybody's going to be very successful. We have created a standard. Draw the cursive letter E, the cursive letter E, near the top of the arc on the right. And this is the last instruction. Finally, draw 2 dots in the middle of the circle for the pig's nose. Okay, put the pen down. Show me your creation. Very good. She's done it before. You've done it before. No? Good. Okay. Good. So I have 3 questions. I have 3 questions for you. Are the pigs any better now than they were before? Okay. Were the instructions clear? 3rd question. Did I set you up for success? Okay. Bingo. Thank you. So that's, now I'm going to give you the cheat sheet. Okay. So if I were to tell you, please draw a pig and draw this, would it help?
Oh, wow.
This is unambiguous clarity at its best. And if you want to make somebody successful, you need to give them the wherewithal to draw the pig that you want. Then they're going to deliver what you need. Now, I don't know if you like Woody Allen or not, but I have a quick video here. Let me see if I can get back. This is a communication thing about handwriting. Anybody remember this? So the reason I bring this up is because in the supply chain I worked in, I received drawings with handwritten notes. And we're supposed to understand what the intention was. So I hope you have a laugh with this, and then I will do a summary of what
There's the Jude added love. Virgil attempts to change his life with one bold stroke.
What does this say?
Can't you read that?
I can't read this. What's this? Act natural.
No, it says, please put $50,000 into this bag and act natural.
It does say act natural.
So I'm pointing a gun at you.
That looks like gun. That doesn't look like gun.
No, it's gun.
No, that's gun.
See, that's an hand. It's human. It's gun.
Would you just step over here? What does this say?
Please put $50,000 into this bag and act natural. What's that?
Does this look like gun? A gun?
Gun. But what's happening?
Natural, please put $50,000 in this bag and act natural.
Oh, I see. This is a holdup.
Yes.
I see you're coming. Well, you'll have to have this note initialed by one of our vice presidents before I can give you any money.
Is that could be avoided with blockchain, right?
That's a B, that's go. No, excuse me, that's and. That's right.
I am pointing a gun at you. Act natural.
No, that's right.
Act. Oh, couldn't be. That's a plain B.
Or she knows.
That's act natural, pointing the gun at you.
Mr. Miller.
I am pointing a gun.
It looks like it was.
Louise, listen, I can't make our date today. I've got to go up to Boston to give a concert. Well, look, why don't I give you a call in about 10 years?
So he couldn't deliver. He had excuses why he couldn't deliver, right? Anyways, that's pretty much the end of the presentation. But I want to do a little summary here for you, and I'm gonna also do some expectations I'm gonna leave with this Apex team. So we set out to help making the invisible visible. We said communication's invisible, and we have to be aware that miscommunication is hurting our supply chains, right? So we used a fishbone diagram. It's very visual. It's a very simple tool. Everybody can understand it, and we can actually drill down and see why it happened so that we can avoid it happening again. So that's one good thing about awareness. Now, here's the deal. I don't know if you noticed that we changed the wording here. Before it was sender and receiver, but because this is a human process, we have supplier and customer. And that brings on the responsibility that we have as humans to communicate effectively. It's not machine stuff. It's not Google. It's not Siri talking to Alexa. It's us talking with our supply chain partners, trying to make them successful so that we can be successful. It's a human process. Go slow so you can get things done fast. Go slow so you can get things done right the first time with dialogue until you reach a standard. My meaning is equal to your meaning. So we talked about awareness, dialogue, and standard. But wait, there's more, as they say. And it's this. Whose responsibility is communication? Is it HR? It's everybody's responsibility. Everybody here, it's the supply chain members, it's in every node of the supply chain, every link has to be responsible for this. Can't expect somebody else to be responsible for communication. This is what what I have as a call to action for everybody to understand that that's what it's all about. So thank you very much. Oink, if you have any questions. And thank you.